Cash Flow Live, Burr Cash Flow Investors Live. And we do these every single Monday, Wednesday, and on Fridays. This Monday, I missed it because I was in Florida and a bunch of stuff had to follow up on. But back in the office today. So let's get to work. Right. And please help us by liking, by sharing with your friends. And we try to answer kind of relevant questions that are relevant in our market and what is going on. So as we talk about kind of relevance today, let's kind of start with what are the numbers looking like in terms of for flips. And this is something that we're wrapping up, obviously, this year. We will do a recap video covering all of that and what is my plan for me personally, what I think people from Mastery should be doing, what should they should be looking at. But I wanted to kind of just really quickly, because there were a couple of questions came in, which is that a lot of people that had stopped doing flips or their flip numbers this year, meaning in 2023, were not as good. If your flip numbers in 2023 are not good, that simply meant that you were paying too much for the properties on the front end, because the back end numbers of the flips are actually very strong. Now, they're not as strong as obviously they were coming out of Corona, right? That was kind of ridiculous, but still the flip numbers have been very, very strong. So, and somebody asked for what is a realistic number. So they gave me this example. They just sold a property for $452 that they sold, and they made $50,000. Actually, a little bit less, 49,600 is what they made, and they sold the property for 452. So their point was that, well, we feel like this was a really good flip. And my point was that I don't believe that that's a bad flip. My only problem with that was this, that generally, if you're doing a $40,000 flip in this particular property, they had done almost 98,000 in work. So almost 100,000 in work. To me, if you're going to do 100,000 in work, then 49,000 or 50,000 in terms of your profit margin, I believe is a little bit too low. This is just me. I think they underpriced the property. The property sold in less than a day. And they underpriced the property. I had tried to tell them that price the property somewhere around 480, and they underpriced the property. Otherwise, they would have actually made a really, really good profit on this property. They've been in excess of 80,000. If one thing I think that they did that they should not have done, this is just my personal opinion, and take it with a grain of salt or not, that they ended up finishing the basement, and they ended up adding a bedroom and a bathroom in the basement. The property already had 2 full baths, 2 half baths. One was on the main floor, and then one was downstairs. 2.5 baths were upstairs, and then 1 half bath was downstairs. My point to them was that just spray the ceiling, only put drywall on the thing, fire tape it, or you just put a basic coat of paint and be done with it, right? They kind of went a little bit overboard, but I think their margins could have been higher, but they did underprice the property for this particular location. But I mean, congratulations to you, right? This is your first flip. So 100% from bottom of my heart, congratulations. I do believe, though, that next time, if you're thinking about, so if you're doing 40,000 rehab in a property, you need to be making 35 to 40,000 bucks. If you're doing 50,000, you need to be making about $50,000 in the property on a resale. And that is after cost of money, right? That is not if you're paying cash for the property. This is a property they did not pay cash for. They had all borrowed funds. So actually, besides the interest that they paid out of pocket, they did not have any money out of pocket at all whatsoever, period. So from that perspective, I think they did a superb job, and kudos to them. If this was me in their position, I would feel that for 98,000, I would not be happy with 49,600 with the profit. I would expect about a minimum of $70,000 profit in this particular situation, but I can't really, for the first time, them doing it, some small mistakes, but hey, I mean, clearly they hit it out of the ballpark. So congratulations. The next thing was, how are the numbers affected this year in terms of Airbnbs and in terms of rentals? Airbnbs in the right areas were pretty strong. right? Obviously, the month of November, it's a little off because it's kind of the shoulder season. December is a little touch and go. Depends. Haven't been bad. I can't really say that they've been bad, but has it been phenomenal in obviously November, December? No. But now some of them, if you're doing midterms, right, they're working out beautifully. Right. If you're especially getting longer term midterms, which is anything more than 30 days, right? For a lot of people on Mastery also, that the midterms seem to be working out pretty well when they work. But problem with the midterms is this, that some months you'll do extremely well with the midterms, and then other months it's going to be off by a little bit because the property is vacant. Like I have a property in Roselle, it did exceptional. And then we did a little bit of a changeover, kind of messed up the calendar a little bit for about a month or so in between. So it had a little bit of a lull. But generally, if I look at overall for the year, extremely, extremely, extremely happy, right? There are a couple people from Mastery off the top I can think of that with midterms, they're absolutely killing it, right? They're doing extremely, extremely well. But if you're going to do a strategy, which is your Airbnb strategy, if you're going to do a midterm strategy, just make sure you have some liquidity, right? Don't do that with your first property unless you have some liquidity, because you're going to have to put in a little bit more money in terms of fit and finish of the property, in terms of furnishing the property. And then not every property will make you money hand over fist. I'll give you an example. I have a property right now in Antioch, right? And in Antioch, it's a nice big house, a great house where you can go hang out, just chill. From that perspective, it's great. But the problem is it's Antioch. So it's right by the water over there. And it's just not my thing, meaning I don't go use it. I have no interest on going boating and all that kind of stuff. That's just not me. So we don't use it for any purposes. So it's pure Airbnb. And even though I don't have any money out of pocket in it anymore, but still it doesn't really, it hasn't caught its groove, right? Meaning it really doesn't make a lot of money at the end of the day. Right, it makes $400, $500, $600, maybe even close to $1,000 some months net after expenses. But I'm not quite convinced that that particular one I should have done as a Airbnb. That's just me. But again, everybody has their own thing, and that's one of those that I don't feel happy with it. So, like right now, I have about 25 of these. I'm trying to get to 50 as quickly as possible, and then the goal is 100. And I genuinely feel that if you have, say, 10 or 12, you're going to probably have one that's going to underperform a little bit. Most of the other ones are going to do decent. Some of the other places that I thought the numbers would be really strong, the numbers aren't. And then other places where you would think the numbers would be a little bit weaker, they're really strong. So it's like, you have to kind of balance that, but I can always rent it out. I was just the other day considering this about Elmwood Park, that should I do a midterm rental in Elmwood Park? There's another couple properties I have coming up. There's another one I just got under contract in another one in Morton Grove. And basically, you can't do a short-term rental in those markets, right? So I'm going to do a midterm rental, and in some of those markets, it absolutely kills it. But then your numbers need to be right? Like my basis in some of the properties in A areas is relatively low, meaning including purchase, including rehab, I'm all in the deal somewhere around 250 to this one. I'm going to be in it all in at about 280. Property's worth about 560, 570 on the back end. So a ton of equity, so it makes sense. So if you're going to basically build a strategy on that, please make sure you have a little bit more liquidity and do a pivot strategy, meaning that you can always rent it out if for some reason a midterm doesn't work or a short term doesn't work. Please don't buy a property just based on that I'm going to do a Airbnb or I'm going to do a midterm and for sure it's going to work, right? Do a pivot strategy where those two don't work. You can always go ahead and do a rental and your numbers will work all day long. As long as you do that, you're good to go. So just something to think about. Second question was, this was a question of somebody that is buying a property, and they're buying a property in Waukegan, and they wanted to pay $152 for this property. Obviously, since the property is something that they are negotiating back and forth right now with the seller, it's an off-market deal, but I can't give the address out for that reason. This person happens to be from Mastery, and we looked at the numbers. The back end numbers. It's a property that is a 4-unit, and it is a really, really, really good property. And the back end numbers on this particular property are somewhere around, I think, around 360, 370, somewhere over there, all fixed up. And this is not bad, actually. It's already rented, so 2 tenants can be kept, and then 2 tenants would have to be turned over because they're not paying market rent. So you do the 2 of the properties temporarily, the people are willing to move, and then basically redo them. He could get a ton of money on the appraisal. So the question was, the seller wants 161 for the property, and this person is stuck at 152,000. So he's like, Andrew, what do you think? I'm like, listen, I think you should do this deal all day long. Right? Because, and this is their, mind you, this is their first property. So what is a number that will make sense? The number that I think makes sense on this property that they could go up to, so we'll do it both ways. So if the back end value on this is 360 times 0.75, right? So they can basically put debt on it as far as the loan is concerned on a refi loan. So if they're going to do a what we call is a 100% refi, cash out refi, they can go up to a 270,000, including purchase, rehab, and any carrying cost. In this case, the seller's asking 161. My belief is that this particular rehab can be done somewhere around 60,000. So even if they pay the seller's price, which is 161 for this particular property, then at what would that be? That would be 221. So even if they pay 161,000, and they spend 60,000 in rehab, plus they have another, say, $20,000 in carrying cost, they're at 241, right, on this property. So all day long, they should be willing to pay 270. Now let's take the 270 and let's put it in the cash flow calculator, and let's see, does that work, right? Even if they did, because they could literally do this deal, buy the property with private money, do the rehab with private money, refinance the property, and at that point get an extra about $20,000 cash out of the deal. Now, I don't do cash outs of extra money. That's just not something I do. But in this case, can they do it if they choose to? They absolutely can do it, and just set it up as a extra kitty in terms of being able to do that refinance. So if I put, let's say, 270, and they put a loan on the property for 270, and let's just say they get an interest rate, they'll get an interest rate right now. Already we've talked to a lender that's willing to give them 7.2 on from one of the small banks. Let's put the taxes in here. And let's put the insurance. The insurance came in a little high. It was like $2,100. But anyways, it is what it is. Okay. So their monthly monthly payments, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, it comes to about $2,707. And in this particular case, since it's a 4-unit, I'm like, hey guys, you got to consider some utilities. Even though you're going to have some laundry income, that's going to be an offset. We don't count laundry income as income whenever we're buying cash flow properties, right? That's just extra. So plus this, so you put it at $3,000. $2,700 is going to be your PITI, plus there's going to be some utilities allowance. There's going to be a little bit of offset because you're collecting money from washers and dryers over there. And then you're going to have to, like, if you're self-managing the property, we put generally on a 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit, up to 4-unit, we basically say that there is about $150 a month is your cost of operations, let's just say in-house, right? If Sandra in the office is managing it, I'd have to pay something for that. So obviously we're accounting for that. So about $3,200 is what their total expense structure would be every single month. And the reason why I'm saying this is such an excellent property right now, because in the 2 units that are already stabilized, right, every single month they're getting about $1,380 on both of them, 1380. The other 2 units, they're only getting $900. But even at 1380 and $900, so 900 times 2 is going to be 1800 plus 13, that's 2600, right? So even without rehabbing the property, this property cash flows to the tune of about somewhere around what, $1,000 or so, ballpark a month, as is, right? As is, it's cash flowing that. If they actually rehab the other 2 units, those units are bigger than their current units that are already stabilized. So I believe the rent-wise over there, they'll be able to get $1,550 minimum, if not maybe $1,600, but $1,550 for sure. So now, I mean, just with one property, they'll do close to $2,000 in net cash flow, right? This is a property that they absolutely cannot miss at 161. If they have to pay a couple $1,000s extra, 100%, they should be taking this property. So I just wanted to discuss that property because I think the numbers are absolutely excellent. So please do not pass up this property. So hopefully you're listening. Otherwise, I will send you an email afterwards. Okay. The next question was, what does it mean when a seller counters you with saying non-assignable contract? Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know who sent this question, but if you sent this question and you're watching, then please let me know what contract you used. If you're using a wholesale contract that says and or assigns, that's on there, please do not put and or assigns, right? And this is a contention I have with attorneys, that if it doesn't say that you can't assign it, right? So if it says no assignment allowed, then obviously you can't assign the contract. But if it is silent on it, you can do whatever you want, right? I feel, this is my personal opinion, that attorneys put in there and or assigns to make their job easier. Why am I going to put in there? Because if I'm the seller and I have any sort of knowledge, or if I'm the seller's attorney and I see and or assigns in there, most attorneys that are used to the regular contracts they see that and they go sideways. Right? So I believe, this is just me, I believe that on a wholesale contract, that should not be there. You have the right to assign it. You have an interest in the property. Nobody can stop you legally from assigning the property. Now, this is very different if it's a property that's a HUD property you're buying, if it's a bank-owned property you're buying. But if it's a regular property I get under contract, right, there's absolutely no way you can stop me from assigning the property. It's my job, because now I have created an interest in the property because I got it under contract. You can't tell me I can't assign it. I can do whatever I want with it, period, right? So please let me know why this is creating a problem for you. I would imagine you're using that language and or assigns in the contract. I know Gina likes to use that language. We use Gina's office, Diaz Case Law, for that. For a lot of these, I don't like that language. I mean, I've said this in Mastery. I've said that because I think sometimes it just opens up a can of worms that doesn't need to be there, right? And I have never lost a contract because somebody says, oh, and or you're assigning to somebody. If I assign it, if I don't assign it, if I do whatever, what business is it of the sellers, right? The seller is getting paid exactly the amount that I said I'm going to pay. Only exception to that, please understand, is if it is a HUD property, if it's a Fannie Freddie type of a property that's coming, or if it's a bank-owned property, because the contract in itself, the addendum they make you sign, specifically says that. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to assign that, then you need to close on it, and then you can assign it. Now, if you don't have the money, right, and you just can't come up with the money, and you need money to do gap funding, please let me know. I'll be happy to fund your deal. I'll be more than happy to fund your deal. Now, it's going to cost you money. Like it's not free, the use of money, but we'll be happy to fund your deal as long as you have an end buyer, right? And as long as it's a bona fide end buyer, we'll be happy to fund your deal on a gap funding situation. That would not be a problem at all, right? And how to assign, and that's why it's so important to use the right attorney, right? Reach out to Gina's office and tell her that, hey, Andrew said, don't put and or assigns, right? And I'll deal with it. But I think it mucks up the contract sometimes when you don't need that in the contract. If it is silent on it, boom, you can assign it. There's no law that can stop you from assigning it. if the contract is silent on that issue. If my credit isn't the best, but I find plenty of properties by myself, being a mailman, how do I go about funding some of the deals I find while I'm out working? So the gentleman or the gentlewoman, I'm not sure who it is, mailman, so I'm referring it is a gentleman, but regardless, it wouldn't matter, right? If you're finding a lot of deals, I mean, number one, God bless you. If you're finding a lot of deals, it's great, it's fantastic. The last problem you should ever have is looking for money. Show up to one of the RIA meetings, right, and let us know. If you don't know any of the people at the RIA meeting, please let me know. I'll be happy to introduce you to a bunch of people. There'll be a bunch of people from Mastery that will be happy to do deals with you, and we will fund the deals for them. No questions asked, as long as the deal makes sense, of course, right? The deal needs to make sense. You don't even have to do the deal. You can basically do a partnership with them and get funded really, really quickly and easily. And then once you have that credibility that you did a couple of deals, now it becomes very, very easy for you to borrow the money. Second part of it is also that you can go call National RE Funding. That's National RE Funding. Go to Jesse, and he can show you that you can get a loan as long as you have about 10 to 15% of the purchase price as down payment. If you don't have that, do what Jacob and his girlfriend did, right? They partnered up with somebody, and the partner had the credit and had the wherewithals to do the property. So you don't have to let go of the properties, or better yet, you can just go ahead and wholesale the properties and make money. So as long as you learn how to get a property under contract, please let us know. And if you have identified properties that are good, I get wholesalers all the time. They don't know how to get a property under contract. I mean, I've paid out literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to wholesalers that they have difficulty coming up with funding. They can't post $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 earnest money. I'm happy to do it. Non-refundable earnest money, I'm happy to post it. Why? As long as it is a good deal. So show up at one of the RIA meetings. We're happy to introduce you to anybody from Mastery that will be happy to partner with you, JV with you, buy your deal. You have so many options. So you are in a great position. So please do not let your credit hold you back. And if you don't know what to do, that's the reason why we do these. You don't have to be a part of Mastery. We're happy to give you the information. We want to see you do more deals, right? If you want to take your business next level, then Mastery is for some people, not for everybody. What is your experience with Riverdale? Or know what is a good exit strategy there? How do you decide on a good exit strategy? In Riverdale, from what I can tell, is I would be in and out. I'd be doing wholesales and I'd be doing flips. I would not want to hold on to the property in Riverdale as far as from a rental perspective, at least from the numbers that I have seen. Right now, that does not mean that I'll give you an example, like say Hazelcrest or Markham or some of the Dalton or some of these areas. I would never hold a property there. That's just me. Now, just because I wouldn't do something, that does not mean other people don't. There's a bunch of people out of Mastery that are doing extremely well in what I would call a little bit more challenging areas than what I have an appetite for. But just understand, guys, today my appetite is a little bit different. When I started, right, I used to buy small townhouses, small condos in Streamwood, Hanover Park, Hoffman Estates. So it is okay. If the numbers work, it's okay. But just understand, if the area is a C minus D area, you're going to have to be extremely, extremely, extremely strict when you're screening for tenants. And I believe that is going to apply to Riverdale. I would suggest do wholesale, do flips, but get in and out, look at the inventory, look at the taxes, because that's going to be an issue in some of the southern suburbs. Some of these taxes are out of control. Right? You can't have a property where the tax next door on the property is 6 or 7 and your taxes are 12. And we've seen that. So please make sure that is not the case. As long as that is not the case, you will be fine. And do not buy a townhouse or a condo in Riverdale. Do not buy it. Just don't do it. Right? You're going to have problems. So please don't do it. Having said that, I hope you guys enjoyed some of the thoughts today. Again, congratulations to a couple of these people for the flip, for the rental property that they're going to basically do a 257 cash flow out of it. So that's going to be fun and exciting to see that. Hopefully we'll get to congratulate them as they close and move forward with that. Having said that, please share the live. Please send it to some of your friends. That is how we get the community to grow. And keep sending your questions in. If you're going through some difficult period, if you're having some challenges with that, what our goal is to be transparent with what we do. And having said that, thanks a bunch. We will talk to you on Friday. And I don't know about you. This is one of those times of the year where a lot of people are all excited. It's Christmas is coming. It's New Year's. But guys, guess what? Christmas is one day. New Year's is one day. Spend time with your family, right? If there's one thing, I wouldn't say regret. If there's one thing I would say that now I realize than I did, say, 3, 4, 5 years ago, is that not taking a day or two off at times where it is important, right? And so this is a reminder to me, this is a reminder to you that spend some time with your family, but don't forget, winter is here in full force in Chicago, in the cold part of the country. Take advantage of that market because right now is when the deals show up. And remember, February is when the next 3 day is coming up. So make sure you register often, register early, get the early bird special, bring your friend with you. And if you do have a friend coming, let us know ahead of time so that we can offer them a BOGO ticket. So a complimentary ticket from our end as your friend or, as your spouse, fiance, whatever the case may be. Having said that, thanks a bunch. We will talk to you on Friday.